Thank you, Avinash. We start off with news from the region. In Jamaica, Prime Minister Andrew Holness says criminal gangs are now engaged in feuds, leaving several communities tense as the parliament unanimously approved of a 3-month extension of the state of emergency in sections of the Jamaican capital. Holness told legislators that the informed opinion of the security forces has been that the level of criminal activity experienced continues to be a threat in certain areas. He said that the state of emergency would facilitate the operations of the security forces in dismantling the plethora of gangs that are operating in the affected areas. Trinidad and Tobago is fighting a crime scourge, but there has been a reduction in murders in the past 2 months, says National Security Minister Stuart Young. The Express reported that following an emergency meeting with law enforcement heads at the ministry's Port of Spain office on Wednesday, Young vowed to go after the killers of Superintendent of Prisons Wayne Jackson, as well as the murderers who snuffed out the lives of 3 others in less than 24 hours. Bermuda's Home Affairs Minister Walton Brown says that the Progressive Labour Party government is considering the introduction of an English test for work permits. Brown said consultation on the English exam proposal is underway and tests could be introduced before the end of the month. The policy would require anyone from a country where English is not the first language to prove they have passed English as a second language exam to get a work permit for some positions. The focus would be on industries where staff have to deal with the public and jobs in which lives could be put at risk if a worker did not have a good command of English. Internationally, Russian spies have been accused of involvement in a series of cyber plots across the globe, leading the United States to level charges against 7 agents. The BBC reported that the U.S. Justice Department said targets included the global chemical weapons watchdog, anti-doping agencies, and a U.S. nuclear company. The allegations are a part of an organized pushback against alleged Russian cyber attacks around the world. Russia earlier dismissed the allegations as Western spy mania. Uganda's army has launched its own brand of condoms named after the Swahili word for protection to help prevent soldiers from contracting HIV. A soldier cannot defend his country if he does not ensure that he's safe, said the country's chief of staff at the launch of the Ulenzi condom. According to the BBC, nearly 6% of Ugandan adults are living with HIV, but strides have been made in reducing the number of new infections. In the past, the country's army was known to have a high infection rate. Saudi Arabia's consulate in Istanbul insists a prominent journalist critical of the Saudi government had already left its building before he vanished. The consulate said it was following up reports of the disappearance of Jamal Khashoggi, who went there to complete paperwork on Tuesday. Khashoggi's fiancée accompanied him to the building, but she had to wait outside. She did not see him leave, the BBC reported. The U.S. State Department has also requested information about Khashoggi's whereabouts and expressed concern about his safety. The 59-year-old journalist had been living in self-imposed exile in the U.S. since last year when he left the Gulf Kingdom after criticizing the policies of Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. And that brings us to the end of regional and international headlines. Back to you, Avinash.